Join me in welcoming Dr. Amy Cruz.
Thank you. Makes it sound like I can't hold down a job, but it's not true. No, it really is my pleasure to be here today and actually, to have the event kicked off by the work that CPRIT has done is truly inspirational. As someone who's been in the neuroscience field for decades, and really has been someone who has tried to create the industry as you have to create it as you go. It's been truly inspiring to hear the story of that, and I really hope that we're on a journey towards that in the neural sciences right now. You heard a little bit about my background. I was very lucky to start my career at DARPA as a program manager, and I like to say that it gave me that little thumbprint on my personality to really go after big, hard challenges, and I think that that is something that I've now carried into venture investing. And what I'm going to do today is really do two things. One is I'm going to sort of set the stage of what I call like, why now? Because a lot of people sort of ask me, like, oh, the brain, it's really hard. We can't figure, like, oh, it's so confused. Like, it's like, no, actually, we have plenty of science. We have plenty of clinical insights. And I'm going to tell you why now is the time. And then I'm going to, like, maybe poke you a little bit and offer a couple of ideas around the future, because I think what we're talking about today is not just what's possible at this very moment, but if you lean in and really create a program that invests in research and companies and commercialization, we're going to create the future. Like, we get to pick, and so I'm going to give you my 5-year, 10-year plus visions for a couple of different things, and hopefully poke you a little bit around that. So one of my little things is missing. That's okay. So why now? So the first thing is missing up there. It's called From Synapses to Systems Thinking. So when I was a program manager, when I was a graduate student, very much thinking about the brain from the bottom up, and I think we now have the opportunity to think about the brain from a systems level perspective. Neurotech catches up with Moore's Law. I'll give you some insights from what's happening in brain-computer interfaces and how that's sort of speeding things up with the technologies that we have, and then talk about what I call all roads lead to neuroplasticity, which is another enabling capability that I think is really happening right now. So from synapses to systems thinking. Like I mentioned, when I was in graduate school, very much, neurobiology itself came from cell biology, right? It was a very bottom-up approach to thinking about the brain. And particularly over the last, I would say, 10 years, specifically the last 5 years, we've really started to understand the brain from a network perspective, from a systems perspective. We've started to think about diseases that we thought were quite homogeneous, or actually just kind of lump them all together, and now we're starting to understand that they have a lot of heterogeneity in them. This, by the way, is one of the reasons that pharma and other groups like that got out of neuroscience, 10, 20 years ago, is because like, oh, well, things wash out when we start to go to phase 3 and you up the numbers of, individuals and patients that are enrolled in trials. Well, that's because we didn't know how heterogeneous those diseases were, right? So depression, anxiety. Now we actually have the tools, both imaging, other molecular tools, genetics, to help us actually kind of sort these biotypes and populations into ways that we can actually start to think about them, not just as depression, sort of mono, one kind of thing, but actually breaking that down into disease types. And so this has been very successful. We've actually seen companies now go back and rescue molecules that pharma had actually abandoned. So Eli Lilly tosses a molecule that,